Our amendment would add a new section to the Bank Act that would require the Commissioner of the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada to conduct regular unscheduled audits of bank policies and procedures to detect and prevent consumer-targeted fraud. If the Commissioner finds that the institution's policies and procedures are ineffective, and the Commissioner should or shall impose the prescribed penalty on the institution. Madam Chair, this comes from a recommendation in a written submission to this committee from Democracy Watch, which noted the following. It is not enough to just require the banks to have policies and procedures in place. The Bank Act was changed in 2018 to add 2 provisions requiring banks to have policies, procedures, and training to ensure the financial interests of their customers are protected. But the FCAC was not required in those provisions to audit the banks to ensure they comply with those provisions. And as a result, the FCAC has done nothing to ensure they actually comply. The new anti-bank account fraud measures will also have little effect unless FCAC is required to conduct regular, unannounced audits and to prosecute and penalize violations. So I would move this as a effective way, Madam Chair, to strengthen anti-fraud provisions and hold financial institutions accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Davies. Any comments? No? Okay. Shall NDP 6 carry? No? Okay. NDP 6 is defeated. Mr. Davies, would you like to introduce NDP 7?
I would. Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment would require banks to compile, without identifying the victim, each consumer-targeted fraud transaction detected or brought to its attention in the previous quarter, and to compile the quarterly data into an annual statistical report published in their annual report to shareholders. This again emanates from a written submission from Democracy Watch, which noted that currently proposed new sections 627.134 and 627.135 will keep each bank's account fraud record secret. That denies customers key information they need to know and have a right to know when choosing which bank they want to use for their accounts. I would urge my colleagues to support this amendment.
Shall NDP 7 carry? No. Okay. NDP 7 is defeated. Mr. Davies, would you like to introduce NDP 8?
I would. Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment would require the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada Commissioner to make their annual fraud report available to the public at the same time it is provided to the Minister. As currently drafted, the Commissioner is only required to provide the report to the Minister. Again, this is, I think, a sensible recommendation from Democracy Watch and would help ensure public awareness of consumer and bank fraud. Thank you.
Shall NDP 8 carry? Okay, NDP 8 is defeated. Mr. Davies, NDP 9?
I think, Madam Chair, this may be academic. Oh, no, it isn't. I will move it. This amendment would require the FCAC Commissioner to include in their annual fraud report detailed statistics regarding each institution's record of consumer-targeted fraud, the measures taken by the Commissioner to hold accountable any institution that has failed to detect or prevent consumer-targeted fraud, and finally, the measures taken by the Commissioner to require each institution to strengthen its policies and procedures to detect and prevent consumer-targeted fraud. Again, a submission from Democracy Watch, and I would just point out at this point, Madam Chair, that consumer-targeted fraud is growing. It's increasingly digitalized, and it targets very vulnerable populations, including seniors, people who don't speak English as a first language, etc. And so I think if this Parliament can strengthen those measures to help do what we can to help reduce or prevent consumer-related fraud, I think we should do so. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Davies. Shall NDP 9 carry? Defeated? Yeah, thank you. NDP 9 is defeated.
This amendment would add a new section to the Bank Act to require banks to reimburse customers who fall victim to consumer-targeted fraud unless they themselves have been grossly negligent in relation to the fraud. This provision was recommended in a written submission from Option Consommateur. It is modeled on a similar measure already in place in other jurisdictions such as the UK and Quebec. Let me just... in their written submission, Option Consommateur noted that, quote, "We believe that an approach that holds banks more accountable will not only allow thousands of Canadians who are victims of fraud to actually be able to recover their money, but it will also decrease the occurrence of such fraud. By placing greater responsibility on banks, the legislative framework will incentivize these businesses to deploy the appropriate measures to prevent their losses." The example of the United Kingdom is a clear illustration of this. According to the Payment Systems Regulator, following the entry into force of the new Consumer Protection Framework, the number of claims for APP-type fraud decreased by approximately 15% between October 2024 and June 2025 compared to the same period in 2023 and 2024. So I think we can help victims of fraud and also incentivize better practices in the banking sector by adopting this amendment. And I would ask my colleagues to do so. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Davies. Shall NDP 10 carry? No? Okay. NDP 10 is rejected.